Playbook for Performance, the official podcast of Shauna Corden, the Joan of Arc for corporate healing and performance. Join the quest to make work fun again by preparing leadership for engaging workplaces. And now, your host.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Playbook for Performance podcast. I'm your host, Shauna Corden, and we're continuing to work on building your resilience. And this week, we're going to be talking about building a reserve. Now, you're probably familiar with this concept of building a reserve in terms of emergency preparedness. In my area of the world, I'm in the Pacific Northwest, we are bearing up for a potential overdue earthquake that goes along the fault line that we have. And so both civic organizers as well as others are really trying to help us put together kits that will help us, whether it's extra food, extra water, a go bag, neighborhoods organizing around this situation about what will we do if there's an earthquake. And that concept is very similar to what we're going to apply here, except we're going to do it with multiple areas of your life. I'm a mom of two gals that are almost 29, 30, and when they were in school, we would regularly get surprised. I would regularly get surprised by things like, oh, I need to bring 24 cupcakes tomorrow, or I have my science project due tomorrow, and I need to put it on the presentation board that's like a three-sided board that can stand on a table. And that stuff would drive me crazy because they'd say it at 8 o'clock at night, or I love you girls, but and so after a while I learned to stock up on the things that I might need, so I wasn't going crazy at 8 o'clock at night or punishing them by not having the materials there and saying, suffer the consequences, you didn't prepare, or being resentful about it. And so I just started to stockpile things. So we stockpiled those presentation boards and glue sticks and making sure that we had extra inkjet pens for our printer when they needed to print projects. I also started carrying, boxed cake mix and those horrific, shelf-stable frostings in case we needed those things too. And so that's just one example, but we're going to be talking about several areas in your life where this could be really helpful to you to have a reserve. So let's get started. So when do I suggest this lesson? I really go into this when people are feeling like they're always in reaction mode. So they've got situations that are happening and they have to respond and they're not a choice. And we use that phrase over and over again in coaching, is the luxury of being a choice. How good that is for us when we are able to do that. Also, if they're rushed and they don't have enough space, because that's one of the things we want to reserve on is time or space. Some key points here. You really can design your life with some well thought out plans. So what I recommend is you go through your calendar and you look at what I call fire drills at work, or surprises, or just general cadence about when things are due, whether it be taxes, whether it be school papers, whether it be permission slips, things like that. When do these things tend to emerge? Whenever I was working with my clients when I was back at a Fortune 10 company, they would complain about these emergency fire drills. And they're like, yeah, we never know when they're coming. And I go, really? Really? And we'd analyze it. And generally, it would happen on a Friday at noon, which would, of course, force people to cancel plans Friday evening or work through the weekend in order to meet some kind of deadline, or they happened on a Tuesday morning. So data happened, to come in on a Monday. People had a chance to review it. People went, the sky is falling. And then Tuesday morning, it would make it to the person who actually had to deal with the fire drill. And so we made it a policy that Tuesday afternoons, Friday afternoons, their calendar would be cleared. Nothing would be booked then. And so they would have the space to address these fire drills should they happen. If they didn't, maybe they'd get out, leave early, go play golf, or they could prepare for the following week with, their shoulders kind of relaxed and at ease. And so that's what we're talking about when we're talking about creating a reserve. You can design your life, but it does take some time, and you need to kind of sit down and analyze the data. So let's keep going here. So I want you to think about, how reactionary are you? How much of your life is in response to what other people are doing or creating situations for you versus you being intentional and deciding upon it? That's a really big question, and sometimes it's a very frustrating question for clients to answer because they think, gosh, I have no autonomy whatsoever. And if you've read Dan Pink's book, Drive, if you haven't, I highly recommend you at least watch his TED Talk. It takes 20 minutes. There's a very good animated version of it. If you just Google RSA Drive, it'll bring up the YouTube video. But once people are adequately paid, that is no longer what really drives them and motivates them. It has to do with mastery, purpose, and autonomy. Being able to determine your own schedule, how you do things, that sort of thing. And so we get frustrated when we don't have enough autonomy. And so what are the common situations that force you to, in my case as a parent, run out to the store, or in your case, it might be panicking at this realization like, oh, I've got to do this, that I have this sort of deadline, that kind of thing. And what kind of few things could you have on hand or in mind that would give you peace? So we talked about that example of creating space in the calendar for when those fire drills tend to emerge. What are some other things that you could have on hand? Everyone's been in a situation where it's like, oh, we need soap, we need shampoo, we need toothpaste, we need razor blades, whatever that might be. I actually had a student years ago who kind of calculated, this is how many paper products we go through at a time. I'm in a tiny apartment, so I can't stock, a year's worth. I'm just going to be on automatic reorder. And at that time, that was a very unusual situation. But if you order from Amazon, that you can be on a certain delivery schedule that you choose, things like that. So what kinds of things would you have on hand or in mind that would give you peace? From your work situation, it might be your office supplies, it might be regular backups of your data, it might be changing your passwords on a regular basis. Someone just got into my credit card somehow and bought a bunch of stuff from Alexander Wang, which I would like to have delivered to me instead of whomever hacked into my account. But that's one of those things that I can't control, but I'm thrilled that my credit card company is able to take control of. That gives me peace. I'm not liable for those charges as much as I might have wanted what they ordered. So think about those things. What would give you peace? So consider the benefits of sitting down and investing the time to create this reserve of these things. You get to be at peace. You get to be at choice. You have freedom or autonomy. You might be able to rest. So should those fire drills not emerge on a Tuesday afternoon, Friday afternoon, you could rest. You could relax a little bit. And think how attractive it is to be around people who are composed, who are calm, who are in control. It's like, that's the energy I want to be around. I don't want to be around panic, adrenaline, frustration. There's certainly excitement that's fun. I'm I'm addicted to the Formula One series on Netflix. Big fan. And, that kind of pressure of performance to be the best is exciting. But most of that other stress, not so good. Not so good. So think about that ease and comfort that comes with, oh yeah, the glue sticks are in the cabinet. Or, yes, I knew that this would be the situation. Yes, you have your little cardboard performance presentation materials in the closet. Don't bug me, I'm not going to the store. So, think about, these are some areas and some actions you could take. Not all these will work for everybody, but these have been tried and true methods for my students and their success factors that they report back in class. And so hopefully these will work for you too. So the first being time. Create some cushions in your calendar. When I first started coaching, I made the epic mistake of scheduling 1 hour sessions back to back. I didn't have time to get a drink of water, use the restroom, take notes on, what the homework for my clients were, to review their notes from the previous session, things like that. Total nightmare. I learned my lesson. So think about, the space that you want in your calendar. All of us sit too much. We really should be taking a lot more steps. If you have a Fitbit, at the 50-minute mark, it says, get up, move around, take your 250 steps. So if you had all your meetings only last 45 minutes, 50 minutes, you would have a 10-minute cushion between meetings to review your notes, prepare, use the restroom, get some water, take your 250 steps. And think about how relaxed you are when you walk into that next meeting. And I've actually advised clients in the past to say, I've got to go early when they have a meeting, leave 5 minutes early for those who are not considerate enough to schedule things at 45 or 50 minutes. And then they actually show up to the next meeting 5 minutes late because people are still just, small talking and gossiping, etc. And they just say, yeah, I had some things I had to take care of. And so they've created that space when people don't allow it for them. And I would encourage you to think about it in the same way. So again, when we have space, we have room to think and decide. Probably one of the biggest challenges I see with all my executives, my business owners, is that they do not schedule time to think. And all of us who are leaders, especially if we're in an organization, we need to be part visionary and part integrator, meaning I'm looking up and across and around at opportunities, but I'm also looking down, like, how can I translate that big vision and those objectives down into my organization so that people understand the translation of the vision and what they do each and every day. And you have to have time to stick your head up above the water like a periscope, look around, that thinking piece, and also deciding, what are the actions we're going to take. So again, I would encourage a couple hours of your work week that you block out time in your calendar just to think, make decisions. In terms of money is always a big thing in terms of our ease, our comfort, our security. So especially, this week we've seen the failure of one bank, the near failure of another bank, banks 2 and 3 in the world. Money's important, right? So think about having savings for particular events or situations. Think about diversity in your savings, whether it be investments, passive income, actual cash, and so on. And then what are the cushions that you need in your accounts to just be at ease to say, I'm never going to overdraw? Or maybe it's setting up automatic payments so you never get a late fee, or making sure that you have overdraft protection with a lightning line of credit that you pay off immediately and not pay all of that interest on. So things like that, really important to have that kind of reserve set up there. In terms of energy, how are you protecting your energy levels? Are you taking supplements or vitamins? Are you getting enough sleep? Are you preserving your kind of mindset as you go into each day with enough rest and sleep? And so setting up your bedroom for the best environment, blue light blocking glasses, avoiding, watching TV before bed or your screens scrolling, that sort of thing. Making sure you have proper nutrition. I worked years ago with a nutritionist who came and spoke to my organization. She was just so good. And one of the things she said was, eat something live and a hit of protein. And I don't mean wriggling live, but, real food, vegetable, fruit, and protein. So looking at that every time you eat. And of course, water. I'm not at the gallon rate that I was when I was doing 75 hard. That was really an effort to drink that, but I am pretty close. So, in terms of opportunities, how can you build a reserve of opportunities? Well, making sure that you're networking regularly, that you're preparing. Alex, I'm blanking here. Yes, Alexander Graham Bell. He said that chance favors the prepared man. So I'm going to say chance favors the prepared person in this case. But, it's not luck. It's that you were ready for the opportunity when it came to you. And so what are the little things you can do to build a reserve about that preparation, being ready to take on a new opportunity? In terms of love, the action is, what is the mutual respect that you can give to your community around you, yourselves, your partner, your children, your family, etc. And then information. Again, we're going back to networks, but it's also that reserve that comes from the masters, whether that be books, whether that be masterclass, YouTube, mentors. Those are all great areas to build a reserve of information. So we want to spend a few minutes just inventorying your current situations, the things that create panic for you, the things that create ease for you, and how can we build that reserve of ease or preparation to address panic so that the panic doesn't emerge. So don't forget, this is part of a 20-week series that we're doing on building a reserve on building your resilience, because we really want to make sure that you will bend when adversity happens, not break. And a rising tide lifts all boats. So what we mean by that is, if you can encourage your community to join in with you, that would be a fabulous thing, because you don't want to be super strong, but everyone around you, not so strong. So there is a theme sheet available at our site that you can download that can help you plan towards this. And I also want to emphasize that this workshop, 150,000 people have gone through this workshop. And I love teaching it. I think it's one of the best things that we can do for ourselves to really just get our acts together and really enjoy our lives so that they're more rewarding. I think one of the best things that leaders can do to show that they care about their employees as people is to provide them with this kind of resource. And so I teach this class to organizations, teams, work groups. We can go through several lessons at once. We can do one lesson a week. There are a lot of options available for you. But we all know that the success of any change effort, and we're all going through change constantly, relies on strong leadership, good communication, and employee resilience. You could be the best leader in the world, but if your employees aren't resilient, your change efforts will fail. Sad to say, but true. So if you're watching us on YouTube, don't forget to give us a thumbs up. Or if you're listening on Apple, don't forget to follow, like, and subscribe. Please tell your friends. And if you have an issue that you want us to address on the podcast, if you'd like some tips on either some of these resilience lessons or anything else, you can just send a note to podcast@shaunacorden.com. Until next week, Take good care.
Thank you for listening to Playbook for Performance. To learn more about Shauna Corden, her consulting programs and tools, please visit her website at shaunacorden.com and follow us on social media at Shauna Corden.